Welcome to the Lost Rewatch. We've now entered season 2 of the most amazing show in the history of television, and we're doing this one live.
Yeah.
And I have Karen and Bill here with me today. You guys were here the second week?
Yes.
Walkabout and the
Tabula rasa.
There you go.
Yeah, the one I can't pronounce.
The other one.
The other one, they should have changed the name to something easier. Just kept it a rasa, right?
Tabula rasa.
So I'm guessing there's people in the chat. I can't see if there's anyone there or not unless they actually chat. I don't know how it works, but anyway.
We'll find out. It'll be an adventure.
So how's your life? How's life been going? It's been going good.
Oh yeah, things are great.
I saw Karen, you were freezing down in Florida. I got down to like 60, I think.
Well, yeah, we went to Miami. My husband's a big NASCAR fan. And we went down to Miami for the championship races for the weekend, and it was freezing. I have like a 4-degree tolerance of like, so no, but it was like 58 by the time we got to the track that morning. And I'm like, I can't deal. And at some point we had to do a shot of Fireball because we had to warm up somehow. I'm like, this doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It's worth a try.
I tried it, but it didn't work. No, but anyway, it was freezing, but that's his thing. He loves racing, and I'm like, just watch the cars go round and around. So,
it's funny now. I can laugh at people when they say it's freezing when it's 58.
It's too much.
You know, it's in San Diego. I was like going, it was cold at 58.
When you're used to it being 95 every day and the humidity crazy, and so 58's pretty damn cold.
I think it's 30s tonight up here.
Yeah, good luck with that.
We're gonna get down to like 38, I think, but that's warmer than it was because last week the high was 38.
Oh yeah,
I can't do. And we go to Georgia every few weeks, and it's cold there now, and like literally you have to just I bundle up like a regular old lady with like lots of layers and a scarf. I'm all bundled up.
Well, I'm not, because it usually doesn't get cold here until December, January.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it was
this is a cold streak lately. It's been like a good week or two.
But at least we have Lost to warm us up.
There you
Always.
go.
And two fantastic episodes. I've said it 100 times. It's been a while since I've watched these, and I told you before we started recording, I didn't want to stop.
Right.
Yeah, it is hard to stop. It's very hard to stop. It's addicting. Again, we've talked about the addiction part of it. So it's just you just get in such a groove. You're like and again, doesn't get old, so you just want to keep going. And
it goes into the mix with that. It's not only the storyline, but it's so visually appealing. The island and everything, and the scenery. It's like it's not a green screen, it's like real life.
Right? Yeah, it's
stuff.
It's real.
Yeah.
I know I've had a lot of people tell me too. Sorry, we couldn't wait for you. We just kept going, and they finished it. But I'm up. Hey. I would do the same thing. I would continue watching it.
It's just for all of us who get to speak about it, it can get overwhelming if we get too far ahead because we have to stick on topic. And even when we talk, it's thinking of other episodes as you're going and like, wait a minute, that happened in another episode. So we try to keep it.
Before you start, I do want to say today was Mickey's 91st birthday.
It is. Happy birthday to Mickey.
He is aged great.
Yeah.
He actually looks better now than he did when he first was born.
Yeah, he keeps having facelifts.
Now that Disney kind of owns Lost, so it's kind of a tie-in there. So
well, they'll probably do the reboot, right?
Yep.
Probably on Disney. I'm assuming it's going to be on Disney Plus sometime next year. I'm guessing. 2021. We're going to have a Lost reboot.
Oh,
just throwing it out there. I could be wrong.
No, we know it's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. So
or not a reboot or something. They're going to do something.
A new chapter.
Yeah.
And again, with Disney Plus, I think they had 10 million subscribers the first day.
Yeah. It's amazing. It really. But now Hulu's kind of involved too, right? Because Hulu's going to cover the more adult content.
Right.
I believe so. Yes.
So, and that's where Lost is now. So maybe it stays there. Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. Just I know when I first got Disney Plus, I was like going, oh my God. I got it for The Mandalorian, but it was like, oh my God, look at all this different stuff. And I've been watching all these movies, and it's.
Yeah, there's a couple of movies on there that I haven't seen since I'm a kid. So that's pretty cool, you know, to kind of revisit some of their really old ones. But
Bambi
they're good
and
to see.
I haven't seen Bambi since I haven't seen Bambi since I was like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
It's been like 50 years since I've
Yeah,
seen
but
Bambi.
now that you have grandbabies, you shall watch those over and over and over and over again.
That's another reason why we got it. We said, you know, with all the grandkids, they're going to love the Disney movies. So.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's fun.
Anyway, enough plugging Disney Plus. I think they've had enough. So, Man of Sign, Man of Faith. What did you guys think of this episode?
I love it.
Yeah, good stuff. I mean, just the whole, he knows how to do it, man. Damon, that beginning, you don't know where you are. You don't know who this is. Is it a flashback? Is it current time? Is it somewhere else in the world? And lo and behold, he's there. He's in the hatch.
Well, I know what. Go ahead.
No, it's just we get this whole ominous beginning, this confusion, we get the visual of a guy, and he's living a life, and he's mixing a protein drink, and he's got fruit, you know, and he's giving himself an injection, and you know, he's on an exercise bike, he's doing laundry. This is everyday stuff, and putting numbers in the computer, and you know, then all of a sudden we realize, you know, the needle skips on the record, and we are literally down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. I thought it was like a military installation. I thought it was the army somewhere, you know, some base somewhere, and he was a soldier because he had on the
Dharma jumpsuit. We got exposed to the Dharma jumpsuit for the first time.
White boxers and white T-shirt, and you know, the computer and everything, and then the vaccine he was pumping. I said, "Oh, this is some kind of military base somewhere, and maybe they're detecting something." But no,
I was trying to remember the first time I saw it. I thought it because they had also the fakes window with the sunlight going in. So I'm not going. So my first thought was, well, it can't be the hatch because there's a window there. They would have obviously seen the window. Like you said, Bill, Damon did such a great job of misdirection on this opening scene, and you had new and old. The computer's old, but you have some modern day stuff.
Right, new washer and dryer is in there.
Right.
And I may be jumping ahead, and I apologize, but I did want to say something about, because a lot happens in that episode, and it kind of gets replayed to us like 2 and 3 times. We see Jack's version of when he goes down there. We see Locke's version of when he goes down there. So we're seeing we see Kate's version of when she goes down there. So we get 3 different kinds.
That was in Adrift, right?
Yeah, well, by the time we start Man of Science, we get a version of that. So then by the time we work our way into Adrift, then we get another version. So, you know, that kind of shows us we get like 3 different versions. But the one thing I did want to say about the hatch itself is once we kind of get a glimpse of, and we'll talk about it in a second, of really what's down there. I remembered while we were watching this that, oh my God, these are the things that Hurley mentioned in the previous episode when he's talking to Locke about, Locke says to, what do you think? He says to Locke, what do you think's in the hatch? And then they talk about that for a minute. And he's like, well, maybe it's like, army stuff, but there's going to be food down there, and there's going to be so all the things that kind of Hurley mentions is really kind of engulfed in this whole hatch idea. And there it is right there in visual now.
Right.
So, you know, it's kind of like a weird thing where things kind of get brought to life on the island, even though this dude was hanging out down there for a long time.
One thing I know, I usually defend Jack, but he was a bit of a jerk. I mean, he was, you know, Locke was obsessed. We know it. Locke was obsessed with this hatch. Maybe Jack doesn't know the extent of how Locke was. You know, obviously, he should know something because Locke was hiding it. He wasn't telling anybody. But they finally get it open. He just expects Locke to walk away from it.
Oh my God! You know, it was like, it reminded me of like a parent on Christmas morning.
Yeah.
Gotta go to grandma. Put your toys away. Oh, I just got this toy. What do you mean I got to put it away?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
But he was rude to him. He wasn't asking him. He was telling him what he had to do.
He was being very controlling and it was very rude. And Locke's like, you're not going to tell me what I can't do, so I'm just doing it.
I mean, Jack was making sense. The reason we opened up this hatch was to get everyone down there, and obviously with the ladder broken, it wasn't going to work. But he could have handled it differently.
Yep.
Of course. But Locke feels that his destiny was tied to this opening of the hatch. So for Locke, it was a bigger picture than just saving people.
Yep.
Okay, that would have helped if I could save people and put you in there.
Exactly.
But there's something else going on down there that he felt was part of his destiny.
They both have their own agenda, and that's why they always hit heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why Jack was he was man of science right off the bat. He's like, it's dark out, the ladder's broken, it's nighttime, we're heading back.
Right.
Actually, Jack is right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As far as that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I just his approach. But then we also see the flashback. How he doesn't have a good bedside manner. He's pretty matter of fact,
Right.
And so I think that all tied into how he was treating Locke.
Right. That's what he knew. And as a matter of fact, we see in the flashback, again, we're jumping a little bit here, but Christian trying to soften, as much as Christian tries to teach Jack and guide him and nurture him into being a better doctor, he's also trying to soften him and show him a little bit of, hey, I'm making you a strong doctor, but you also have to give people a little hope and a little bit better bedside manner. So Christian tried to instill that in him, but Jack was just very by the book, blinders on,
But is that different from this Christian we see in season 1 where he's drinking his scotch, watching Carol Burnett, where he's very matter of fact and he's to a young Jack?
Well, I didn't recognize that. Yeah, I thought Christian, I was like, he almost was out of character. He was like a Mr. Softy, and I'm like, he was the one in season 1 that was telling Jack, you don't have what it takes, and him pretty hard. And he was more of a softy than I thought he would be.
Right. Again, it's about finding balance, I think. And Christian tries to, as much, we saw him in, like you said, the other season was saying, you don't have what it takes. But Christian was explaining to him at that moment that it's because I can detach myself after the event happens. I have to separate myself from it. Unfortunately, it's a tragic event. A child died and blah, blah, blah. But I have to learn to detach myself from it or else it can consume me. So that's a lesson learned as well. But here he's trying to say to Jack, yeah, you're going to be a great doctor and do this and that, but you've got to give people a little bit of, you got to be a people person, give them a little bit of hope. So it's trying to find a balance of how do you mold and nurture a good, strong person, but also teach them balance at the same time.
Right.
Well, I like it. So, he's talking to Sarah, who is at this time paralyzed from the waist down, and he's also talking to Locke, who at one point was paralyzed from the waist down.
Right.
So I'm sure they put that wasn't a coincidence.
Right. We have so many parallels, and I think a lot of, by the time we've experienced the whole first season, and now we're down the rabbit hole in the beginning of this part of our story, we're seeing so much of the residents of our island with the connections and relations and similarities of events or life events with them, and we start to see that. So it's pretty evident now. We have that connection. The connections are there. But we do learn a lot more about the numbers when Hurley is kind of repeating the numbers and saying, he also says we're dead when he says the numbers. He's going 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 40. He's repeating them. And he's going, we're dead. 15, we're doomed, we're dead. So he's using the words doomed and dead while he's counting out these numbers. And the numbers are bad to him. We get another example of the numbers in this about when we find out about that Kevin is talking to Jack about, his poor fiance is now crippled after she has this accident with Mr. Rutherford.
Yeah.
And they were going to get their wedding was 8 months away. So we have a lot of nods to the numbers in this particular episode.
At 8:15 a.m.
Right, 8:15. So we have a lot of that happening. But I don't know. I find it interesting that the big key for me was seeing we start to show these 3 different perspectives of going down the rabbit hole. And I thought that was pretty cool.
You mentioned Kevin. He was not a very good fiance, I don't think.
No. He wasn't changing diapers.
No.
He not a very loving guy.
No. But down in the hatch, we discover that there is the magnet pole there's a magnetic pull down there. We learn about that there's food down there.
An Apollo bar, we see.
Apollo bars, which are very important because we did see an Apollo bar on the pilot. Shannon has an Apollo bar.
Yeah.
But the flashback about the actual accident, I found it to be really cool to see, because the first thing that Jack says when he walks into the emergency room, you know, the chaos and everything, is he's like, "Did you page my father?"
Right.
That was the first thing. So Jack needs the team of his father. He needs that. So he knows he can rely on his dad. That's important to know. So they have some sort of working relationship that they're well with each other at this point in Jack's, you know, medical career. So I don't know.
He had to decide on the spot too, which one to go to help.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that was like a split-second decision too. Who's got the best chance to survive? So he wanted to.
Right.
You say Shannon's father and Boone's father, or
right?
No. You stick with the pretty blonde on the table, I guess.
It helps the story, I guess.
Exactly, it does.
I do like that Kate sees the hatch door says quarantine.
Yes. Right. So is that an inside quarantine or is it outside the quarantine? So they know something is needing to be kept away from other people,
Now I would be hesitant to go down there if I saw, okay, it says quarantine. That's where Jack could have said, come on, Locke, it says quarantine. Why don't we wait till tomorrow? We can figure out what's going on.
I think Locke still wouldn't have cared.
Locke would have gone down. I would agree.
Right. Yeah. Just the fact that the hatch door was off and it said quarantine, I mean, I would have been out of there, you know, just the area itself.
Yeah, no. So what does quarantine mean? You know, what is that reference to? Nobody's like worried about anything other than, oh, it says quarantine. I'd be like, I don't have to go down there, but what's in there? I don't know. The importance of quarantine. So I want to also bring up the fact of the word execute when we're talking about the computer, because we have the word quarantine and now we also have the word execute. So we find out, you know, we're going to type these numbers in the computer and your enter button is not really enter, it's execute. And I always found it interesting because execute really has two meanings. It means either to begin or to end something. So which is it? Are we beginning something or are we ending something?
Right.
So that's, you know, we know that the numbers are counting down to something. We learned that, but which way does that word mean for us? What does it represent?
That could mean both.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do like we have a good side story because Shannon's lost Vincent. The one thing she was in charge of doing.
Damn dog. She lost the damn dog.
So she goes to side like going, why don't the dog will always come. It'll come back. And she goes, no, the one thing I'm not going to be the one that loses the kid's dog.
Right.
So she goes out there. She hears the voices because her and Saeed separate, which is never a good thing to do at night in the jungle.
Yep.
And she sees a wet wall.
Yes. And he tells her,
That is scary stuff, man.
And he says something to her, which we learn because we decide we're gonna play the video backwards and find out what it says. But he does give her a message that don't push the button is bad. But she doesn't know that because we hear it backwards.
Right.
So but Shannon asks, what are you doing here? We know that Walt was gone on the raft. You know, people who remember the four of them left on the raft that morning. This is all still the same day. And the reason that I remember that this is the same day is because Locke tells Desmond, when Desmond asks him how many people were with you on the, you know, the plane crash, what does he say? He says 43. 43. He said, and 4 left this morning on the raft. So this is all the same day.
Or was it 44?
I wrote it down, and I have too many notes here now. I can't even read my own notes.
I wrote it down.
I wrote too many
notes. I think it's in Adrift. So let's see.
It is in Adrift. He says 43. four sailed this morning. Yeah, so that was in Adrift.
Okay.
He says 43 stuff, so it's all really the same day. So those first couple of episodes of season 2 are still only encompassing that one day, even though we're getting Man of Science, Man of Faith, Adrift, and then the next episode it's maybe spanning 3 episodes, but it's one day.
I think we're only 44 days in since they.
That's what it was. It was 44 days. That's what it was.
Right.
Now, the image of Walt. Did we ever get a definitive answer what that was? Was that Walt? Was it just Shannon seeing things with the island playing tricks on her? Was it Smokey? Was it what was going on with that?
Okay, so what do you think it was? After all these years, what do you think it was?
I always thought it might have been Man in Black doing something later on when we found out more.
Mm-hmm.
Really don't have a great answer for it.
Bill, what about you?
I think it was Walt at that time. I don't think it was settled what his story was going to be, whether he was going to be this special aura of a person that could do something like that.
Right.
I don't think it was Man in Black, because I guess he would need some kind of body to take over.
That's true, yeah.
Right. But the interesting thing is that we do learn that the island has a way of manifesting things that you need to acknowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Kate sees a horse. They see Walt a couple of times. Hurley sees Dave. So there are things that the island manifests. Later on, Echo sees his brother. So people come and go. But I think it's part of really just the island's way of manifesting what you need to confront to learn your lesson or to get over something. Because, these episodes here, Man of Science, Man of Faith is exactly what it's about, because we're watching, like you said before, Jack is telling us he is a man of science, and that mindset where he is in this point of his life, he is strictly by the book, factual. And Locke is our man of faith. So this is where we are in this episode, logically and literally.
Mm-hmm.
But, we have to understand the island adventure is giving everyone on the island what they need so that they can learn things from it. And part of it is this manifesting of people. But you are right, Bill, that could have been totally part of where they may have wanted to take Walt and they were going to give him a much more special role.
Right. Yeah.
And, he would have manifested, and we know he does it again, but still. But there are other manifestations of people.
Right.
Jack and Christian. Christian shows himself a couple of times to Jack,
Mm-hmm.
Well, that could be explained that there was a body for that, so that could have been Man in Black.
It could have been.
And then, but also, why would the island tell him not to push the button?
The button is bad. All we know is the button is bad. That's all we know. That's all we know. At this point, we only know the button is bad. But why would it be? Is it perspective that the button is bad? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, we don't know anything.
Well, maybe like Bill said, maybe they were going to go a different direction with the Walt and the whole storyline, and they just kind of said, "Okay, we're just going to flip this, and people are going to forget about it." Or
right, it could be, but we do still have whispers preceded Walt.
Right,
showing.
The whispers were there, yes.
So so we have the tie of the whispers preceding the actual showing of Walt.
Right. The whispers, in the end, were noted to be the voices of dead people stuck on the island. Was that
right? The people still
right.
stuck there. Yeah,
right.
The people still stuck there. Yeah. So I don't know, the image of it running backwards I always found intriguing, because we get another situation of backwards a couple of seasons later of backwards dialogue. Again, it's so hard to not jump ahead when we're talking about things, because we know what happens. We've seen it. We've taken the journey already. So for people who think they're going to come here, and it's hard to not spoil them.
Spoilers, yeah.
But there is another instance of backwards dialogue in another episode a couple of seasons later. So why do we have backwards dialogue? Yeah, why is that important? So
to drive us crazy.
Yeah,
to drive us crazy.
I thought there was a great scene between Jack and Hurley. Jack asks him, what's with the numbers? And then Hurley opens up to him, is honest with him. And Jack just stone faced goes, "You were in a psych ward?"
Right.
Well, I'm not crazy.
Right.
No, I'm not saying you are. All the stuff he told about winning the lottery and all this different
He's
stuff.
He's not fazed by the money. He's not fazed by anything else other than you were in a psych ward.
Yeah.
That's all he got out of that. So his medical brain only heard the medical part.
Right.
You know?
I mean, if someone tells me all that information, I'm gonna say, "Oh wow, you won the lottery."
Right.
I don't think I would harp on the part that they were in a psych ward.
Exactly. But here Hurley is telling him that. Well, we're learning what controls Hurley, and Hurley's obsession, or the thing that controls him, is this number fixation that he has. So we learn a little bit about that. You know, we hear, I learned about the numbers and I played them in the lottery, and now they're showing up here. And again, the island manifesting things that people need to confront show up in island experience somehow.
Right, but he knows, he's saying they're bad. Those numbers are bad.
The numbers,
because everything that happened to him after he played the lottery. Yeah.
Right. So he's finding fault probably where there isn't any, but that's his perception of it, is once these numbers came into my life, then bad things happen.
He's on the island because of the numbers.
Yes.
He never would have went to Australia if he wasn't for the numbers.
Right. Right.
So bad.
So for him, those numbers are bad. But
and then Shannon comes.
It's just numbers. No, it's just, to Jack, it's just numbers.
Yeah, you're crazy.
There is no logic to it. It's just numbers.
Until he finds out what his number is, but that's
Everybody has a number.
And then Shannon tells the group that's already stressed out.
Yeah.
That she saw Walt and he was telling her stuff, and she heard whispers, and Charlie's like going, "Oh, come on, but someone needs to get I mean, you already have people that are stressed out.
Right.
And even though she's 100% right in what she saw, you don't need that with all the, they think the others are still going to come get them, even though Charlie keeps saying it's fake, it was Russo, and all the other stuff that was going on. It was a crazy scene at the caves.
Right. Absolutely crazy. And Shannon's adding to the chaos, but she needs to be heard. You could see the desperation in her, that she's like, I want you to hear what I'm telling you. Something is wrong. And Walt showed himself there. So, and everybody's like, no.
Right, but then Jack stands up and he's like, listen, everything's going to be fine. We're all going to stay together. Sun's going to come up tomorrow morning. And over his shoulder, Locke is like, packed up some rope. He's out of there. He's like, Jack's like, where you going? He's like, well, I'm going to the hatch. So.
Yeah, I'm going. I said I wouldn't, but I don't listen to you.
A big speech, how we're all going to stay together. He's like, I'm out.
But Jack actually gave a good speech.
Yeah, he stood up, and it was, he was like being compassionate, like that was his bedside manner was coming out right there.
Right. So. Yes. But lo and behold, who follows Locke to the hatch?
Kate, who said she would stick by Jack's side.
Right, because Kate has to inject herself into everything.
Right.
So, but Locke said he was waiting for her, so he kind of knew she was going to.
Well, he wasn't shocked when he wasn't shocked when she showed up, but like I said, great speech by Jack. And here Jack again. A lot of times Jack is right. It's just his approach to it. But here I thought he gave a speech. We're all stick together. It's like 3 hours, Locke. Can you wait 3 hours? But I think if Jack would have approached Locke in a different way, maybe he could have got Locke to wait.
Right.
But let Locke go on his own. But no, Kate has to go, and that of course that ticks Jack off.
Yep.
Right. Kate goes where she's never supposed to. Like, you're not supposed to go. She's just always there. She's just always there. But Locke is actually tied. It's funny because in my notes I wrote Locke is tying a noose because it looked like a noose as he's tying it. Yeah. Right. Meanwhile, it's really just a loop so he could belay her down there. But it looked to me, in my original notes ages ago, I wrote it looks like a noose. So he's tying this noose, and the interesting line that I feel that Locke says to Kate is, if Jack thinks I lost it, I can't blame him, really. Then again, 5 hours ago, I was pulled into a hole by what appeared to be a column of black smoke. Did you see it, Kate? And the look on her face indicates that she saw it.
Right.
And then Locke sees that and goes, well, I guess we're both crazy then. Wonder what Jack thinks he saw. So Jack's been exposed to this black smoke and the monster and everything. He's been exposed, but he never talks about it.
No.
He never says anything, what he saw, what it was to him, or anything like that. So again, the island manifests things, and people see it.
Right.
Well, Jack saw the smoke monster kill the pilot.
That's right, and he saw.
So he knows what it's capable of.
Right, when it chased him and Charlie and Kate, in season 1, and after the pilot got killed and stuff. So, just Jack never talks about it.
Right, but if he can't explain it logically, it's not going to exist in his mind. So
right. But the interesting thing is, we do find out later, again, jumping ahead, that even though Locke saw this smoke, it was actually being pulled by this column of black smoke. He didn't see anything that was dangerous or a detriment to himself. He actually thought it was beautiful,
but he was afraid the second time he saw it.
The second time, you could see that he was a little, apprehensive.
Because I asked it, because it was in the last episode.
That is true.
Texas, what did he see that was different from the first time? What did he see the first time?
Right.
And what did he see? Because we don't know.
We don't know.
Whatever he saw the first time was beautiful. It was like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. Right. The second time he was sitting there like, I'm not going to run from this thing. We don't have to run from this thing, Hurley. And he sees something that absolutely terrified him. Was it his dad? Was it Anthony Cooper? I mean,
well, we do we think that because the smoke shows them something? Yeah. Right. It shows them things. So, but we don't know what it was that he saw.
Right.
But
was it being pushed out? Was Dad pushing him? It had to be something that was completely. And this is what another thing the writers do a great job of.
Right.
They let this out here for us to talk about 15, 14 years later, whatever it is.
Exactly.
And it could be anything, but he did see something different from the first time he saw the smoke monster.
Right.
Which is
and Kate has seen it a couple of times, and Charlie has seen it, and also we know that Jack has seen it, but Jack is the one that never even acknowledges that he sees it.
Right.
So that's pretty whack.
Well, he's Jack. He's
Jack.
And I like when Locke is lowering Kate down. Kate's freaking out. Kate's afraid. Obviously, should be. She dropped the flashlight.
Right.
She's getting lowered in, and she hears something, and she wants Locke to pull her back up, but Locke doesn't.
Right.
Is this just another sacrifice the island would? If Kate were to die at this point, would it like Boone? And,
I think
in Locke's mind, this is just what the island wanted to sacrifice.
This is Locke being his awkward. He does those awkward things where he's going to get himself in trouble. And this is one of those things where don't let go of her. You got to pull her back up. But no, he's going to do this, and he's going to, get in trouble again.
Yeah. Right. The bright light comes up, and he's still. I think he goes, oh, maybe I should.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's too late. Slides down.
Yeah.
But again, Locke goes on his mission. For him, he's on a mission. I need to get somebody down there. I'm going to go down there, and I don't. If we sacrifice somebody in the meantime, so be it.
Right.
This is my destiny. He needs to get in there.
Yeah, and quarantine, schmarantine. Nobody cares about the quarantine.
It's funny, is Kate read the quarantine sign and she doesn't even hesitate going down there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no.
It's like she forgot all about it.
Yeah, no, that's Kate. Janet in the chat says, "Love this lineup: Jack, Karen, and Bill." Well, thank you.
Hi, Janet.
Hi, Janet.
Thanks for joining us. At least we know we have one person here. And then we have where Jack goes, and Hurley comes up to Jack. What are you doing? He goes, "I'm going to the hatch." After he just gave this speech, which was the right thing to do.
Right.
We got to stay here. We got to stick together. Wait till daylight. We still don't know what the others, if it's a hoax or not. We don't know.
Right.
Yep.
So Jack, the leader, says, "I'm going to leave because Kate went."
Yep. So that's 3 down. So after his speech, we're all going to stay together. Now there's 3 of them are out. So
right. So do you guys think that did he go because it was Kate, he feels he needs to protect Kate, or is it because he still wants to be in control of what Locke is doing, or both?
Oh, he's following Kate. Yeah.
It could, I didn't think about it, but it could be a little both.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't like Locke doing things that he doesn't know about. He doesn't.
Right.
But I think if Kate hadn't gone, he probably wouldn't have gone.
Right. He would, if Locke fell, he wouldn't care if Locke fell.
Yeah. If Locke were to die, oh well, crazy guy died. I didn't like the ball-headed guy anyway.
Right. I kind of felt it was like a little bit of both. But obviously he has this attachment to Kate, but I kind of still feel like he wasn't going to let Locke have the full satisfaction of going down there without Jack knowing something.
Because in Jack's mind, they agreed to wait till the morning, but it was just Jack saying, I mean, Locke said okay, but it was like, you can see in Locke's head, don't tell me what I can't do. I mean,
that's right.
Exactly what he didn't say it, but that's what he was saying in so many words. It was,
no,
it was classic.
He took all his tools and he was out of there.
Yeah. But if they really cared about the people that were at the caves, Jack, I've always said Locke is not a leader, but he's a good soldier. I'd want Locke there, but he doesn't care. He cares about himself. Then in the end, Kate doesn't care. She cares about, she's a good fighter. And then of course the leader leaves too, and leaves everybody who's stressing out because Shannon's telling everybody all this crap that's going on, and Jack leaves anyway.
Right. And of course, they're still worried about the others. There's still that sense of the others is coming to take a baby or a child or something. So they are still worried about that. But the overall theme too of this episode is we have all these things going on in this episode. There's so much to take in, but the episode really encompasses a lot about hope and the belief in miracles, the belief that something great can happen. But it's really about hope. And can you hold on to hope even when things are like really crazy? So while we still have something going on, we have this whole thing about still worrying about the others. But we get a flashback about Jack performing surgery on this woman's crushed spine, her spinal column. John Locke has a black smoke column. This woman has a broken spinal column, So no, seriously, there's those nice parallels of what we need to pay attention to. And Jack feels that this poor woman's her situation's shot. She's out. She'll never walk again. I'll try, but I'm gonna try and fix her. For some reason, he finds this attachment to her and says, "I'm gonna fix you." So.
Which shocked because you see the nurse look at, and everybody in the room's like looking like,
right. This
what
woman,
are you talking about?
Right. Right. To everybody else, she was unfixable.
Right.
And that was the reality of it. But he gave it a shot anyway. So throughout the surgery, but then in Jack's flash, we also see him when he's running the steps up in the stadium, and he falls and sprains his ankle, and he meets a very nice, fine young gentleman out there doing the same thing he is, who happens to have almost been a doctor once. Let's keep that. Try to remember that for the next couple of episodes and a couple of seasons that you're talking about Desmond, because here we already found out he was almost going to be a doctor once. We find out a lot of people.
He's also training. He's training for a trip around the world too.
He's going to train for a trip around the world.
I'm sorry, a race.
Right, the race. But he has a heart-to-heart with a man he just met about having hope. What if, Jack's stressed out, so he's running laps because he's stressed out that he performed the surgery, but he feels that he didn't fix her. But she's still in recovery, so we don't really know anything. But this nice young man is telling him, but what if you did fix her? You gotta believe and that kind of thing.
So, go ahead.
There are theories out there, and we're talking, like Jack said, 14, 15 years later, still, making wild theories. But at that point, Desmond was an angel, right? Right. And he came like he was in the last season. He came to that point to tell Jack miracles do happen. Right. And the way he was talking too, his tone was like smiley and calm and everything. And I just heard an interview with him actually a couple of weeks ago on another podcast. And he said, Jack Bender was directing, and he told him a couple of times, stop acting so heavenly, like just
really?
Normally. So, and then he talked about lifting it up.
Yes.
That didn't mean his ankle, and that meant something else.
Right.
Lifting up the plug in the cave, What are we looking at?
We do know the backstory on this one. Desmond is at this point is full of hope.
Right.
He thinks if I win this race around the world, I'll get Penny back.
Right.
So he's motivated. He's not sad Desmond that we've seen.
That's where you can see the glow about him.
Yeah, this is I can get the love of my life back.
Right.
So that's why he's full of hope. And Jack, of course, is like, I told this. I went with my dad's advice. I told this woman I'd fix her, and I didn't.
Right.
So.
But what if you did?
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, we find out he fixed her.
Well, Desmond says, "See you in another life, brother."
Yeah. Well, yes, he does say that. So we get that exposure to that great line as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, having a little hope and maybe believe in something better. Where Hurley's only thinking bad things, he's bad luck. The numbers are bad. I'm bad luck. I'm bad, bad. You know what? Try to have some hope once in a while.
We lost Bill. He'll come back.
Okay. But again, just try to change your perspective on things, because things are not always as bad as you make them out to be in your own head. Oh, hey, welcome back.
Bill popped back in. We saw him in another life.
What happened? Did the island chase you away for a second and you came back? What happened?
He heard whispers. He said, "I'm out of here."
That's it. I heard there was quarantine going on. I was like, I'm out.
But then we after that we have Jack goes into the hatch. He sees, I think, Locke's shoes, right? He sees artwork on the wall, which had a lot of theories. I remember there were a lot of theories on the art.
Yeah.
I guess it turned out to be just Jack Bender's artwork.
Right.
I think it was Jack Bender, but it did have 108. Was one. There might have been other numbers, but you see 108 pretty. Then there's a bright light, and then you hear again. We hear "Make Your Own Kind of Music."
Yep.
Yes. Well, you got to make your own kind of music. What else are you gonna do?
Yeah, which I love. I don't know if I love that song because of Lost, but every time I hear it, it puts a smile on my face.
Oh
yeah.
Catchy tune.
It's a happy song about doing your own thing.
Right.
Okay. Again, the music we hear on Lost serves a purpose, just like the book titles. They give us little hints and clues to things, as does the regular top 40 songs we hear in the background too. But at this point, we realize that there's been a whole to do with, he knows Kate went down there, but he doesn't see Kate. So
that's who he's most concerned about too. Again, we said about Locke. Again, I don't think he wants Locke to die, but if Locke dies, it's not that big a deal to Jack.
Right.
He's not bringing back boar meat anymore, so it's just like we don't need him.
No, and again, I think that whole conversation that they had at the previous episode about, your destiny, Locke's destiny being, it all roads lead to the hatch, and you have to believe in destiny, and Jack's like, I don't believe in that, none of that stuff. So the point is that Jack still does not believe any of that. He doesn't. So I don't need this crackpot old man with me. He's on a whole other wavelength, and I don't need that nonsense. So to Jack, it's still nonsense. And Jack truly doesn't get it yet. There's a lot of things Jack does not get yet.
Mm-hmm. But he pulled his gun pretty quick on Locke too.
He sure did.
Yeah. Desmond's got it pointed at his head, and then he sees Desmond. He goes, "You." Right.
Yeah, recognizes him.
Yep.
Oh wait, I skipped a part. We go back to Sarah, and he's saying, "I'm sorry," because she says he stinks. I took a shower. It didn't take, but he said, "I'm sorry, I couldn't save you." All this different stuff, and she goes, "Well, then why can I wiggle my toes?" And of course, Matthew Fox is a fantastic crier.
Mm.
He can cry at the blink of an eye, and it's an emotional scene because you are tearing up because he fixed her. Yes. Or is it Sonia in the chat? I'm trying to read the name. Yep. Did the island or Jacob fix her?
Right. That's what sent there.
Jack fixed her.
A miracle. Yeah.
So you're believing in Jack.
Jack. He had to believe in himself so that he could make it happen. Mm-hmm. So I believe Jack believed, and Jack made it happen. Because you got to learn these things about yourself. It's part of the island adventures, learning things about yourself too, that you have to change and let go of, and things like that. So that's, again, remember, my thought train the whole time has been this whole, path to enlightenment journey that they're on. So I kind of, again, gravitate to those little lessons within them. Doesn't mean I'm right. I'm just saying those are the things I kind of gravitate to in my own head.
Again, it's lost. You could be 100% right. It's lost.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But it's about, for me, the lessons. Jack had to learn to believe for a second. So whatever happened that gave him that fortitude to believe, that helped him heal her and fix her. That whole thing. So that's what this episode talks about a lot. Hope, handing out hope, but you got to believe in the hope. You got to believe that good things can happen.
And when we do see Desmond again, he's a lot different than he was when he was running those stadium stairs. I always comment on the stadium stairs. I go, I don't know a place that has a stadium where you can go run at night.
Yeah, I don't think the doors aren't open.
I never heard of such a thing.
I can't get to the high school over here won't let me in and run around the track.
Yeah, I mean, there's rules, but it's lost. But I remember saying it at the time. I remember saying it on the podcast. I think it was our second podcast. Like, there's no way they'd be allowed to run it. No. It's dark for a reason.
Yep. Of course, but one of the things that Desmond says when they're running up and down the stairs is Desmond is doing his run because he's training. Jack is doing it, and Desmond says, because you're punishing yourself. Right,
that's true.
Okay, so there was two different reasons for these men to do this running of the steps.
Mm-hmm. And they were meant to get together. But again, going back to Desmond, where he's positive, he's happy, he's training for a reason. Now, we don't know the whole story about him in this hatch and how he got there,
right,
and how haggard he is, and he has to punch it every 108 minutes. But he looks bad.
Yeah.
He looks like how long he's been there either. We saw those marks on the wall. I mean, it looked like it was maybe a year. I mean, how many marks are up there? A couple of hundred, maybe?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then, of course, we learn later on why he looks that way, because he's got to punch those numbers every 108 minutes. I said seconds earlier, but 108 minutes, you can't get a good night's sleep on that.
It's exhausting work. It's so exhausting. But you know what, though? He's trapped. So being trapped really wears you down. And that's what we see is he becomes a broken man being trapped in this patch, being a slave to something.
And we find out in Adrift that he thinks that the island causes a sickness.
Right. So he's been lied to, and he's been manipulated, and he's been entrapped in this scheme of things.
Right. So it's a two-way quarantine, right? Because he can't go outside, and the sign says nobody can go inside. So
that's probably why he was in such a panic too when they blew the hatch off, because it's letting if there was a sickness it would come into the hatch. So
because we have seen outside the hatch, and he got all the gear on, and yeah.
So anything else on Man of Science, Man of Faith that you guys want to talk
about? No.
I was just thrilled to see some candy involved, because who doesn't like some sweets? But no, again, inside the hatch with things that Hurley had mentioned to Locke and Dr. Arzt about what they thought was in the hatch.
Yeah, and these two episodes anyway, they run concurrently, so they're actually happening at the same time. So I think we've hit on some stuff on both. So
and then Janet said Desmond is freaking glad to have Locke to give him the hatch too.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You can have it, bald man. You can have it. We move to Adrift.
They called him Boxman.
That's right, Boxman. Boxman. The raft is burning. They're in the water. Michael's screaming. Shockingly, Walt. Walt. Sawyer saves Michael.
He does.
He really saves his life, and but he calls him Mike. Mike.
Yep. So he saves him. You hear in the background, you hear Walt yelling for Dad. You hear Jin yelling for them, because Jin is somewhere in the water. He's screaming for them. Michael's screaming for Walt, and Sawyer manages to. I always feel like Sawyer is so misunderstood. Yeah, he's this tough guy, and he's this, that, and the other thing, but he really is always there to help people. So he really does resuscitate Mike.
Do you think if he had a better attitude on the island, Michael wouldn't have been so tough on him, like blaming him for the whole thing? If he had a better reputation, because my wife always says, and my parents always said, your reputation, you got one. That's it. You have one. And of course, most people don't know Sawyer's backstory and what he's been through. They don't care. They just know on the island he has been, for the most part, a jerk. I mean, he shows flashes where he's helpful, and he has a heart. He's like the Grinch. He has a heart inside, but for the most part. So you think it was Michael's way of, okay, I can take it out on him because nobody likes him anyway.
Right, because Sawyer's built this this persona for himself. So he plays this role because that's his own defense mechanism. So he portrays this tough guy. I don't care about anybody, and I take what I want, and I this and I that.
I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me, and
right. So that's all part of the persona he had to build for himself since childhood.
I think Michael was so distraught and so unreasonable that I think he would have went off on anybody. I mean, put Locke in the shoot, put Locke out there, put even Jack out there. I think he would have been not too happy either way.
Because again, Sawyer saved his life.
Yep.
Without Sawyer, he's dead.
Right. He actually stopped breathing, and Sawyer resuscitated him.
Yeah.
And I do want to say this for Josh and Mike from last week. And damn, that Sawyer pulls that bullet right out of his shoulder. And that was
way in there too.
So he just dug right in there and grabbed that bullet right out. It was disgusting.
This episode had lots of flashbacks.
Yeah.
It had flashbacks on the island. I think it was the first time we've had multiple flashbacks, because we had Jack's flashback, we had Kate's flashback, we had Locke's flashback, and we had Michael's flashback.
Right. We had those seeing the different perspectives of each person getting in the hatch continues into this episode.
Which I thought was genius.
I love that.
Yep.
I'm just switching my screen to my Adrift notes so I can see.
Because we have Michael, not Michael. Locke is the first. It was his flashback. We see him going down the hatch.
Right.
Kate, she's dead.
I mean, where'd she go? She didn't just vanish, But I
don't think he cared.
No, he was in the hatch. That's all that mattered.
But all right, guys, let me ask you this: what do you think Locke was looking to get out of this being in the hatch? What was he looking for? What did he think he was going to find? What does destiny mean?
Answers. He wanted answers. He wanted to know what is this about?
Yeah. He thought it was going to he thought the island was giving him something. The reason he found the hatch, because it was the island telling him, you were supposed to find this hatch. You're supposed to get this hatch open. You're supposed to go down. Whatever's down there is for you.
Right.
And I think that's what really ruined Locke. Finding the hatch is what killed Locke.
Oh yeah.
It really set if you go back, well, obviously we'll see it. Oops, it's right on my wall. We'll see it later on, in the show, that everything that happened, with meeting Ben and everything else really messed him up. So, but he was just he didn't care about anything else but that hatch.
Yeah,
and again,
Desmond asked him, "Are you him?" I mean, and he went, "Yeah, I'm him." Now,
which was the right answer. Right. Who knew the answer? Who knew there was a code that he had.
Yeah.
But again, Locke is our character who is that take 3 steps forward, 2 steps back guy. Yeah. So he does. He gets kind of overzealous and he makes the wrong choices sometimes. Even though he knows he's making progress, it just takes him a little bit longer to get with the program.
Yeah. Well, it took too long.
Well, of course it did.
For Locke. But then we have. Go ahead.
I just want to say this episode for me was primarily about, because we have all these flashbacks that we talked about, and we'll talk about more, especially with Michael and him being the father. Is this episode is totally about holding on and letting go. And that's what we learned with Michael's flashbacks.
Yeah, because Locke is holding on to the, he can't let it go.
Right. There's, it's even about just an idea you have. If you can't let it go, then it's unhealthy for you.
Jack can't let go of Kate.
Right.
Kate can't let go of being what she does.
Right. Exactly. So sometimes it's not just about like you're addicted to something, or you're, Hurley's obsessed with numbers, or maybe it's his food addiction, and Charlie is his literal addiction. Everybody has their thing that they're trying to grow from and let go of, but sometimes it's just an idea you have that you poisoned your own mind about.
Right. And that's right. And you see that too with Charlie, he has a statue still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This episode, right?
Yeah, he has the heroin statue because Claire finds it.
Yeah. And he goes,
But Michael's. This is where you start feeling sorry for Michael.
Yeah.
He's, we know that his Sarah didn't give Walt any of the letters or cards he sent. That she really wanted him out of Walt's life, which I don't understand. I mean, she didn't want him to be any part of it, and he really gets because his lawyer's like going, "Hey, this is going to be costly. This is going to cost a lot of money. Do you really want to go through with this?" He goes, "Yeah, it's my son. It's my son. She can't just take off and go wherever she wants." So you start feeling sorry later on, I really feel sorry for him for what he's going through. Right. But then we come back and Locke is looking for Kate, we'll say, in the hatch. He opens up the blinds and it's fake sun, a fake sun and all that stuff. He finds Kate. Desmond points the gun at him and Locke, and he asks, "Are you him?" And then he goes, well, then we go flash to Sawyer, who's screaming for Jin. Now, see, again, Sawyer's not thinking of himself. Now he's looking for Jin.
Right.
Yep.
And Michael, because earlier Sawyer said, "Why are you screaming? Why are you screaming?" Because I want my son to know I'm still going to look for him, which makes sense.
Right. Right.
And I think Sawyer kind of went, "Okay, I stepped across the line," but then he
gets it. But he ends up getting it. I get it. Yeah.
But then Michael says, "I thought we were supposed to conserve our energy." Well, it's Jen.
Right. He's still out there in the water somewhere, but Walt is on a boat somewhere drinking cocoa. So so it's two different
he's got
things.
A blanket, he's warm, he's drinking cocoa. then Michael blames Sawyer. Goes, "Well, how's it my fault? Mm-hmm. You shot the flare."
Right.
It's just placing blame out of anger and desperation, and that's he's what do you call that? Transference, when you're putting all of your fears and all that anger onto somebody else.
Right.
It really had nothing to do with Sawyer.
No, he's actually his own guilt, because he ultimately realizes it's his fault for taking the kid on the raft to begin with.
He should have been on there in the first place.
Right.
So but in Michael's view, he'd already lost him once before. He first 10 years he wasn't around him,
mm-hmm.
and we see in this episode how he had to give him up, which was
heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. And it's not something he wanted to do.
Right.
At first, we think he's just a bad. When the first show first started, we're thinking, "Here, this guy's just a bad dad. He didn't, he wasn't being part of his life." We find that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
He never even had a chance.
No, but then he does blame Sawyer for the shark, which had a Dharma logo on it.
Yeah.
Right.
It had a Dharma logo on it, and because he's bleeding, Sawyer's bleeding. So then he goes, "Well, I'll go to the other raft." So he swims to the other raft, and that's when he pulls the bullet out. And it's like, oh my god,
right. That's gonna leave a mark.
Because I've never had a bullet in me, but I've had splinters, and I don't like digging the splinters. Then we go to Susan and Michael and the lawyer, and she's just tearing Michael apart. It was obviously she's doing what a lawyer has to do.
Yep.
She has a client, and Susan's just letting it happen. And I thought it was so unfair.
Yep. And he had no answers for any of it. He was just like, he had the wrong answer for everything, but it was.
But it wasn't his fault. But I guess that's what a lawyer has. I couldn't be a lawyer. I couldn't tear someone apart when I know it's really probably not their fault.
Mm-hmm.
But in this
I blame any lawyers out there. I know you got a job.
Because they're all sharks. Get it? No, but he with what was happening in that little hearing type thing is he's showing that really he doesn't have a leg to stand on, because he was not part of his son's life again.
Right.
But he wants it desperately. So he's just trying to hold on to something that he rightfully should be a part of.
Right. And we know he has no shot just from, the lawyer even said, I'm the cheapest lawyer there is. So I know,
That's why you're here, because you can afford me.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is going to cost a lot of money. But again, I just think it was unfair. He's obviously going against his wife has money and her husband has money, and there was no way he was going to win.
By the way, same room that Claire was in and raised by another.
Oh yeah,
I think it was true. Raised by another. Same room where they had their attorney meeting.
Okay.
Huh. That's where all the lawyer meetings are at on Lost.
They have like one office. Just one office.
Then we go where Locke does say, yes, I'm him. And Desmond asks, what did one snowman say to the other? And Locke's like, I don't know.
You got it.
You got me there.
Because up to that point, Locke had been playing a pretty good game. Because Kate, oh yeah, she's with me. So you're thinking, okay. Well, I think that's what kind of threw Desmond off, because he looked, he goes, I don't see them together, maybe, right. Because that's when he asked him, what does one snowman say to the other one? So maybe that was the wrong answer.
Right.
Maybe he could say we're partners. But of course, to be fair to Locke on this one, I bash him a lot, but he really doesn't know what's going on.
No. Did he say, yeah, I'm him as I'm the guy, this is my destiny, or was it, yeah, I'm a replacement?
Replacement, I think, yeah.
Well, I think you say, yeah, whatever you want me to be.
Exactly, yeah.
Just don't shoot me.
Right, yeah. Yep.
And of course, Desmond after that knows it's not him.
Right.
And then he wants to tie up Locke, and Locke's like going, well, she's the dangerous one. She's a fugitive. I'm no. And Kate's like, what are you doing, Locke?
Right under the bus. Yep.
Was that a good move by Locke? Was he trying? Okay, let's give Locke some credit. Was he trying to get Kate out of harm's way?
Maybe. I think so. Yeah, he knew that she would be able to take care of herself, and he made sure that she wasn't tied up so tight she couldn't get out of it. And he provided her with a pocket knife so that she can cut her way out. So he knew, fugitive and all, she could take care of herself. So if anything, he got her out of the way for a few minutes.
Right. And he knew he could talk Desmond into something outside.
Right. Or find out more information. Yeah.
Right. All right. So we're going to give Locke some credit on that one.
There we go.
I'm not going to bash him 24/7. Now we go back to Jack's flashback where he's going to the hatch, and he's like a little concerned, and he doesn't see Jack. He doesn't see Kate, doesn't see Locke, just sees the rope down the hatch. So he goes down. But he's smart though. He's a doctor, surgeon, so he protects his hands.
He does. He did. Yep.
And then we find, going back to where Claire finds the heroin, Charlie's heroin. She doesn't know it's heroin yet.
Right.
Charlie's like, oh, I thought we might need it later on. She goes, I didn't know you were so religious. Oh, yeah. And that we find out later on, was it later on this season? That's a big mistake for Charlie.
Right.
Not being honest to Claire there.
Oh, yeah.
Not a very good altar boy.
No, it was just being honest.
We thought he got rid of all of them, right? I mean, this was a surprise for us too.
Yeah. Well, no, I think we saw him pick it up.
Okay.
I think in Exodus we see him pick it up. Because but we're like, no, Charlie, no, don't do it. But this, with him and Claire, this is a big deal because she doesn't want him around her later on. Spoiler, around her baby and all that different stuff. Sawyer and Mike are audio again. The raft comes apart. Because what are you gonna do? Splash me? And so you splash, and what's left of the raft falls apart. Susan talks with Michael, and she says, "Well, you're gonna win." And I'm like, going, "How's he gonna win?"
Yeah, she was getting in his head and playing a game with him.
Yeah, because there was no way at this point Michael was going to win.
No way.
No.
And she's saying, "Do the right thing." He was doing the right thing.
Right, he was.
I can provide for him. I can do this.
You don't
still his child.
Yeah.
And he loves his child. I mean, he cares about him.
Right.
So I don't like Susan. She's probably one of the least likable people on the history of Lost.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely.
I mean, I can't think of anything she did that I liked.
Right.
No. And she just wants Michael to let him go.
Yeah, because she wants it her way.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, is there any reason that we can think of that Michael should not have been around Walt?
No, it's just Susan had her own highfalutin life. She
wanted to travel, yeah.
She wanted to travel. She wanted to be an attorney for top corporate people and give her son things that he needed, and give him a well-rounded global life, apparently, because she was all over the place. So she had her life all planned out and pretty much did what she wanted with it.
But even back in the flashback from last season, she was giving him her last name.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's almost like that Michael was really just a donor, really, and that's
would it have helped? Would it help? Because usually when Lost, they the first time you see a character, you don't like them a lot of times. maybe if we had Susan's flashback, maybe there was something in her upbringing that could soften it a little bit. But there's nothing that we see.
Yeah.
That I can't stand her.
No, I just felt she was quite selfish.
Yeah, I agree.
She as much as she was trying to, with the lesson of being, the lesson in the episode being taught about the letting go part, I still felt that it was coming from a place of her being selfish, though. And
she says, well, you could do your art. Well, you can do your art with a kid too. I mean, it doesn't.
Right.
I know. I can remember back. A lot of people blame Michael for giving up, but I don't think he would have won.
I think he knew that too. Yeah, he had no shot.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he knew that too, because she was the breadwinner at that point.
Right.
She was the one. I mean, he was out of work and was going to lose his apartment and everything like that. So at that point, the better stable life for Walt would have been to go with her. Mm-hmm. So he eventually let it happen because he knew it was best.
Ultimately, he said, "I'm going to do what's best for Walt."
Yeah.
Right.
That's what was best in the end.
Which he doesn't get any credit for. But again, Michael ended up doing some terrible things that we'll see later on. But in this, I backed him 100%. I just can't stand her. Absolutely. Anyway, we go back to Kate. She's in the pantry room, the stock room with all the food. She's able to cut herself loose. And Kate Fash turns on the light and sees the food. And of course, what does she grab? The Apollo bars. And she even gives that look like, oh my God, chocolate.
Yes. How could you not?
Then, of course, she grabs like 5 or 6 more.
Yep.
Just in case she can't go back. But there was a lot of food there.
Yes.
There was a lot of food. And of course, that started the theory. Well, how's he getting the food? Mm-hmm. We hadn't seen a food drop yet.
Right.
So it's like, how is he getting all this food? Because for one person, of course, they're dropping it for 2.
Right.
And still, even for 2, that was a lot of food, especially for what the Lossies are used to. They're used to, fish and some fish.
We as the viewer had so many questions, even into this episode. There's one guy there. He has a washer dryer again. He's living a life. He's doing laundry. He has dishes and he has lots of food. And why is he giving himself injections? Is it the quarantine? Right. So this man has a self-sufficient life, yet he's trapped in this thing.
Right.
Okay. But he's still self-sufficient. So how? Why? Where did it come from? So we all, as the viewer, have thousands of questions.
I mean, there could be 5 years worth of food there. Maybe that's what it is.
I was thinking too, maybe he's down there because he's trying to stay away from Smokey. I mean, I can remember going back when first saw these 2 episodes. I'm going, okay, why would because we don't know.
Well, we know that there's some monster up there, so he must know the same thing.
Yeah,
you assume,
Janet says, "LOL, Walt would have been better off with Susan."
Well, sure, I agree.
And she ducks. Well, was he better? But in the end, was he better off with Susan?
For that period of time, yes, he was, because he was treated to a nice life. He got what he needed. He was well traveled, and he went to good schools. Mm-hmm. So for that point in that young child's life, it was. But is it fair to keep a child completely away from their father? No. Because
we don't know how well. I mean, if you look at money wise, yes.
I mean, she could have paid for airplane tickets to send him back and forth to visit his father. She didn't do that. Mm-hmm. That was nasty.
Yeah, and again, but she kept him out of his life. I mean, completely out of his life.
Right.
So I'm gonna.
Right, we know she dies, but Janet, I see. She died. We know that, but that doesn't happen yet. Just at this point in time, we just know that she is the stable financial person.
We just know that she's the meanest person on Lost, Janet. The meanest. Not even close.
She Beyonce guy is pretty shaky too, but
that's true too. I bet he's
Brian Porter. He's kind of shifty.
There's a lot of bad guys in this episode, aren't there? Kate climbs through the vent, makes a lot of noise doing it.
Screams for Jack. You can hear her yelling, Jack.
But there's music playing. There's make your own kind of music. But then Locke and Desmond are talking. He goes, "How many of your people are sick?" And he's like, "Well, none of them."
Yeah, right.
Janet says Kate is meaner. I don't see that, but that's okay. I guess Kate did kill somebody, but sure. I still take Kate over Susan. Well, then when we hear a beeping, we hear a doot, doot, and we're like, okay, what is that? Mm-hmm. Another thing that's new to the show that we don't know what's going on.
All these questions we have. What's happening? And
then he makes Locke sit down. He goes, do you know how to work one of these? He goes, well, yeah. And he goes, punching the numbers. Then he hears that's when he hears, I think, Jack. They both hear Jack. He kind of, what number? What was the last number? Because he's in a panic. Mm-hmm. What?
Right. What's going to happen? It's obviously counting down to something.
Yeah, we don't know that. We don't know what's going on. Well, we don't know what's going to happen. So eventually he gets the numbers and he goes, hit execute. And Locke goes, well, wait, what's going to happen? Yeah. Locke, of all people, stopped and went,
right. What?
He was like, okay.
There was no faith in that for a second.
No. He was Jack there for a second. Right. Wait, what's going to happen if I press that?
Right. Yep, exactly. I agree with you, fellas. Mm-hmm. That at that moment, Locke was not presenting faith. He was like, no, I need to know what's going to happen.
That's where the execute and start something. What is this going to start? Right. Let's execute.
So anyway, Locke, you're not always a faith guy. Then he does press it, and the clock's that thing clicks back to 108, which we always found fascinating, because then I think, is that when we first saw the different graphics that were on it, and people, or was it later on that we see
Later on.
Because I know that was such a big, I mean, this hatch had so many things that I think it was the first, probably was really when we first started we picked the show apart, but this is when there were websites set up directly with just different screenshots of what happened on each episode, and you could go to it and go, okay, that was that, this was that, this. I mean, there's like, later on we'll find, where the whole message where Locke is trapped with the hatch doors, and he sees the message, and that's written on there. There's so many things in this hatch, because a lot of people that didn't like the hatch storyline.
I loved it,
but I find it fascinating.
You would watch the background of an episode and then realize you didn't watch the episode because you were looking for things in the back.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you had to watch it 2 or 3 times, which was brilliant of the writers. Then they hear Jack. Kate's yelling for Jack, Jack, but he can't hear because that music is so loud. It wasn't like AC/DC or something like that. It was who sings it? Is it Petula Clark?
Oh, that's Mama Cass, isn't it?
Is that Mama? That's right, Mama Cass.
Right? Isn't that Mama Cass?
I think you're correct. Okay. Is it Mama and the Papas?
Mama and the Papas? Yeah, probably, yeah.
Okay, I'll go with that because I think you're right.
We'll go with that.
Great harmony.
For $10,000, I go with Mama Cass.
Desmond fires his gun as a warning shot, almost hitting Kate. And this is something we didn't see the first time.
Right.
When he fires a gun, we don't know Kate's up there.
Again, different perspectives we get.
Right.
Which I love that idea.
And that's when this is when Jack goes, you. Well, he did it again. So he's done it twice. He sees stressed out Desmond. Then we go back to the raft. Sawyer doesn't listen to Michael. The raft starts falling apart because he's like, "You're gonna bust the raft." No, I won't. So now and that's when we see the Dharma shark, and Michael he gives Michael the gun because he's gonna swim for they had a pontoon that was
yes.
Then obviously that'd be safer. So Sawyer with the bad arm is gonna swim, not Michael. Mm-hmm. Let's see, Eric has this. I'll get back to that in a second. I gotta stay focused here. They reach the pontoon because Michael shoots the shark, and it's blood everywhere. And so we've had someone kill a shark with a gun and a polar bear, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was that a once in a lifetime shot?
Well, yeah, it was like 3 or 4, right? It wasn't one shot, right? He was
but he finally hit him, I think.
Oh, he got it good, yeah. Oh yeah, blood came spurting out of the water.
Yeah. Then they reach. Then we go to Michael, and he's saying goodbye to young Walt, and the kid looked like they did a great. It's like almost like I don't know if you guys watch This Is Us.
I have never seen it.
But they do a fantastic. It's a lot. If you like flashbacks, you're gonna love This Is Us because they do flashbacks all the time, and the kids in the show. They have like 3 different age groups of the kids in the show, and they all look and have the same mannerisms as the adults. They do it's an amazing job. This kid looked like an older Walt.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they could have brought him along and replaced
they could have.
Kelly.
They could have.
Yeah.
Here, you know, he's telling Walt that he's not going to see him for a while.
Yeah.
And he gives him that little cute polar bear.
And he doesn't tell him who he is, though. He starts to.
Right.
But she, of course, the mean lady, who's the worst lady on the show, kind of gives him that look like, don't tell him who you are.
Right.
He can't know you're the father.
Right. I'll let you give him that bear. Okay.
Yeah. But the minute we get on the plane, I'm going to throw it in the trash.
Yeah.
Flight attendant comes by, I'm just going to dump it in the trash. I'm sure she did, right? Because we never see the polar bear again, right?
Jack is so mean.
Well, I'm the one that's mean. I'm the one that's mean. I'm sure Walt never got that polar bear again.
No, I'm sure. He had to wait till he got to the island to get a real life-size one.
Exactly. But it was a tough scene. It was a tough scene because
he
Michael
was saying goodbye. He was letting him go.
And to me, I've never been put in that position, but I can't imagine, especially when you don't want to do it. I can't imagine being in that position where you're saying goodbye. And it's not like he's going from New York to Chicago or somewhere else. He's going across the pond. He's going
Rome.
Rome, and then eventually to Australia. It's just so and again, he has no contact.
Right. But in this scene, he is grasping the idea, and it seems that he's finding a little bit more comfort in the idea of letting him go, because then from that we get to the daybreak scene, I believe, them back on the raft together, and that's when he kind of softens now with Sawyer, and he's crying.
Well, he's crying.
Right, he's crying, and he's like, okay, it's my fault, and I did, so he kind of has a little bit of a revelation. So we go from that flashback of the acceptance and the letting go to the daybreak of the raft. Right. Again, I love that. It's beautiful storytelling. I love that, the fluidity of that. And we see lesson learned, and now it travels into Island.
And it's a sacrifice. It's a parental sacrifice.
It is.
Right.
Parent, you're going to sacrifice yourself. And that's what he's doing. He's sacrificing his own emotions, his own want for the kid.
Yep.
Now, in a show of daddy issues, does Walt have an argument that he has daddy issues when it wasn't Michael's fault?
You mean in the blaming issue?
Because everyone seems to have daddy issues, right? I mean, almost everyone in the show has daddy issues. Does Walt have daddy issues? Probably when because he doesn't know the story of why. And even Michael later on, he doesn't throw Susan under the bus.
No, he doesn't.
He goes, no, because he was nice about Susan, unlike
he said Susan, it didn't work out.
Didn't work out, and he almost kind of takes the blame.
Right.
But does Walt have an argument for daddy issues when he didn't see his dad for 10 years?
I don't think we ever really. I don't know, Bill. What do you think? I don't think we saw that.
We don't see it, but I'm just saying, does he have an argument for it?
Because he did have another father figure in his life with Brian.
Remember, he wanted to adopt him.
Right.
But was that Susan wanting him to adopt? Because he said, the only reason I adopted him was because Susan wanted me to.
It, yeah.
It wasn't like he wanted Walt. He was afraid of Walt.
Right.
So, again, this is Susan, Janet, doing what's best for Susan, making, someone who doesn't love her son.
Yeah.
Right.
Trying to force the love there.
Right.
I was just throwing it out there because it just dawned on me everyone has daddy issues, and I go, well, Walt's mine. He probably, and it's fair to Walt. He does. He could have.
In season 1, they had some conflicts on the beach.
Oh yeah.
It just seemed like Walt though didn't want Michael anyway. It wasn't even like. I mean, can you take it as a normal situation where, okay, my mom died and my stepfather really doesn't want to continue raising me, but Walt was not receptive to going back to his natural father at all. He was quite defiant in it.
Mm-hmm. But Michael doesn't even tell Walt at the time that no, Brian doesn't want you.
Eric.
Because he said, go ahead.
Yeah, I just saw that Eric asked, didn't Walt tell Michael he wasn't his dad? Yeah, at some point, I think in another episode, he does say, like leave me alone. You're not my father or something. And
Right.
yes, that line does come up at some point.
So it would be daddy issues.
So,
But again,
yes.
But when Michael he cared enough about Walt not to tell Walt the truth.
Right.
He could have said, well, Brian didn't want you. He says, no, you're my son, and I have the rights, and I'm going. And
he
that's
was very respectful in the
right.
situation.
Yeah.
Except when he was talking to his mom, said, I can't take care of this kid. Can you take? What do you mean you can't take care of him? And of course, Walt heard him. So that's why you see the friction when they get on the island. Right. So yeah, I guess Walt. It's not fair to Walt has issues because. Again, what Susan did, but I don't want to keep harping on that.
Susan.
Well, they see land, which is good. They get on the land. They're tired. They go, great. It brought us back to the island. They hear Jin, and Jin comes running. He's got bamboo tied behind his back. He looks like he's been beaten up a little bit, and he's screaming, the others, and he's like, and they're like, what? And we see this group of other people, but we don't see their faces.
Right. We just see this kind of tribal effect of a couple of outlined people. So now we do know that at some point Jin was taken.
Yeah.
And now they're back on the island.
Well, how did Jin get there so fast? Did he have like did he have the part with the sail on
it? Island magic. The island is magical.
But that's how the episode ended. That's when I go, God, I want to watch the next one.
Yes.
Yeah,
I really wanted to watch that, but I said, I can't. That's the rules.
I know. I stopped as well because I tried. Now I have to give myself a cleanse, a buffer for a day or two, and then I could pick up again because I didn't want to. It's hard when, like I said, we're talking about it, and then we'll bring up because we do know what's coming, the connections that are ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good to kind of give some listeners and watchers who are, I didn't realize that. Let me pay attention. Maybe it'll come up later on.
But these were two great episodes to start season 2. I mean, it's just like, oh my God, because for me, it had only been like a 2-week break. No, I don't even think it was 2 weeks. It was like maybe a week, and I got into season 2. The hard part was, again, only one episode a week and having to, wait and find out what's going on with this show. But just again, Lost. We said it 100 times. It's just a fantastic show, and they just know how to tell a story.
It's just we're all just so passionate about it, and we just can't tire about it. We can't tire talking about it, and we all want Apollo bars now because we still can't eat Apollo bars.
Jay had some Apollo bars, but he never shared. Never shared with me. I don't think he opened them up. So
is he mean? Jay, you're mean. You didn't share any Apollo bars.
I actually call Jay Susan now.
Oh,
that's how mean, huh? What would that mean?
But no, he got some, but never shared. Never gave me one.
But checking out what some of our people that joined us today, we really appreciate you guys jumping in and hanging out with us for a while. But yeah, the daddy issues, and also bringing up the point about Walt did having that resentment. Yep, that is something that does come up. But apparently, Jack has issues with Susan.
I forgot. To be honest with you, I forgot how bad she was. And how much it angered me how Michael, because I know there are people that don't side with Michael on this. And I will fight to the death. I do side with Michael on this one because I just like he got a raw deal.
Right, because it's selfish. And she had a lot of money and she could have got plane tickets to fly them back and forth or him back and forth and Walt back and forth. So they could have at least built a relationship with his, but she just didn't want it.
No, and like I said, no contact. Didn't let him read the letters. There's phones. There's phone. Right. There's computers. You can email and stuff now.
But yet Susan paid for all of Michael's health care when he got hit by the car.
Right, and he gave him the best rehabilitation.
Right. So she took care of him. So was that all a ploy? Was that all play? If I take care of you, then I can keep you at arm's length, and I can.
Right.
She did use it at the hearing.
Yes.
Right.
So it wasn't at the. Again, it could be that she did have feelings for him and did care about him, but it's like, what did we ever find out? What broke them apart? I mean, I know they kind of grew apart, but.
Yeah, but if you remember when they're shopping for the cribs and everything, if you remember how excited Michael was about shopping for the crib and naming the baby and this and that, she already was quite detached.
Right.
And I think Bill said that before, was that she was going to give him her name, and she wasn't taking the suggestion of his father's name and what have you.
I think she loved him, but once a kid was involved, she's like, well, you're a great boyfriend, but there's no way you're going to be a father in this situation.
I can't marry an artist.
Right. So.
Oh. You know how those artist types are.
I'm just saying, and Susan, Janet said Susan's not responsible for him killing those women. You know, he killed Ana Lucia and Libby.
Right.
Well, technically, no. But if she doesn't take Walt to Australia, she doesn't die. Well, Michael doesn't get on the plane. He's done on Flight 815. He doesn't ever meet Libby, and so if she would have stayed in America.
Right.
And let Michael see him. So, you know, technically, no, but yeah, she.
Right. But those are other choices that Michael made of his own accord.
Oh, yeah, he did.
We just watched him spiral. I mean, he went from where he was and he just spiraled out of control.
Yeah.
He didn't want to lose his son again. It all comes back to him not wanting to lose his son again and everything he went through this whole journey because he was obviously I don't think we see it, right? But going to the part where he has to come back to camp, and he's probably told to kill Ana Lucia. I think that's. Well, I don't think we ever. I think it was a theory out there.
Okay, because if I remember correctly, Ben makes it. This now we're jumping ahead. Anybody who's watching and listening, we're jumping ahead here a little bit. At some point later on, a couple of seasons later, Ben makes it clear we never told you to kill those people. We never instructed. So he said that. So that was an act that Michael did of his own accord.
I don't believe because one thing about Ben has had a history of lying.
Yeah, you can't believe.
Yeah, that's
so. You got to okay. Am I going to believe Ben?
Right.
Because why would Michael kill somebody?
Right.
For just no reason.
Well, Ben was a very good con man. He could make it seem like it's your idea when it really did come from him. So he could have conned him into that idea. Because
I think I believe they had Libby, not Libby. Libby was an accident.
Yeah.
But I mean, he did kill her. But I think with Ana Lucia, because Ana Lucia killed, who did she kill?
Goodwin? Oh no,
Goodwin.
Yeah, it was Goodwin. Shannon. Yeah. She killed Shannon.
Well, she killed Shannon, but no, she also killed Goodwin.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that was a payback to kill anyway.
Right.
Well, if you want to talk about a character that someone doesn't like on this particular panel, I have issues with Ana Lucia.
Oh. Who we see in Exodus.
She is my thorn in my side.
I don't know. I like Ana Lucia. I just can't hate her. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. I have issues.
Again, she was thrown into the leadership position, and she did the best she could. And her co-leader was Echo, who went silent for 40 days.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, but again, she was like the female version of Jack because she was very controlling and she wanted it done her way, and it was she knew how to protect everybody. And I'm gonna, so maybe I just don't like controlling types. Maybe that's what
She's from the Jack mold, trying to use her mother as a police officer. She was doing the same thing with her mother that Jack was doing with his.
Exactly. It's like, I think that's a great part to end it on. But again, 2 great episodes. I appreciate you guys taking your time out of a Monday night. People in the chat, even Janet, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bill, again. Thank you, Jack, again.
Jack.
This was fun. Great combo. I enjoyed it.
Always love talking about Lost. Always.
And we'll see you again, I hope.
Yes, I hope so.
I'm sure we will. We have many, 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 many more episodes to go. Because someone asked me, when do you think you're going to be done? I think it was Josh and Mike, because they're doing their rewatch. And they said, when did you think you're going to be done? I go, I don't know why I was thinking, but I thought I'd be done by March or April.
And then guess what? We're going to start all over again.
Yeah. So it's like, oh my God, what was this thing's going to last until December, December of 2020, crazy.
And then somehow we'll throw in a Christmas special.
Yeah, you got it. And then when the show reboots, we gotta come back again.
That would be great.
Anyway, I'm enjoying it. It's been fun and great to have you two back again.
I appreciate it too. Thank you, fellas, for sharing tonight. Namaste.
See you.
Bye, everybody.